Saturday Social is powered by FIFA 22 with PlayStation.
But we're going to start with the transfers because the transfer window has slammed shut. So what we're going to do, we're going to look at every single Premier League team's business and give the guests a minute to debate every single Premier League team. So we picked a topic based on each team. So I'm very much looking forward to this. We're going to go in alphabetical order, which means Arsenal are first, which is ironic, Nicole, because Arsenal are actually sat in last right now. Sorry, that was too easy.
Did you rehearse that?
I didn't actually, no, but it was just an easy one. Anyway, first up with Arsenal, you get a minute to chat about your beloved Arsenal. The question we are asking, 60 seconds on the clock, is as follows. So we know that Arsenal are the record spenders in the Premier League. So Nicole, have Arsenal spent their £156 million well? What are your thoughts?
Have they spent it well, Smithy? No, I can't believe, honestly, I can't believe how much money we've spent. It's actually insane. And no disrespect to Ben White, but £50 million. Does this team look any better? No. Have we lost our first 3 games? Yeah. Honestly, I'm trying to not go off on an absolute rant so that Thogden can have a chance to speak. But no, they have not spent it well at all. It's a joke.
Wow. Do you know what, Thogden? We'll come to you in a minute, but I want to hear more from Nicole. So what signings are you not particularly happy about then? Because that was a very strong statement that you said there.
Do you know what? It's not that I'm unhappy with anyone in particular. It's just, you go like, where's the big star? How have we spent that much money? And then you look at Manchester United and Joe's going to be buzzing. And they've got Sancho, Varane, Ronaldo. You look at Chelsea, Lukaku. You look at Arsenal. How have you spent so much money? And who have we got for that? It's like, maybe I'll be wrong, and hopefully I'll be proven wrong, and things will pick up after the international break, and it will gel together, and we'll start winning and getting some points on the board. But it's not looking good, and just the amount they've spent is absolutely just ridiculous. And it's the first time since like 1954 that we've lost our first 3 games.
It was a minute on the clock, Nicole. It finished about a minute ago.
I know, but that's why I stopped myself early. But you know what?
Let's take the pain away from Nicole.
We'll move on. We'll move on.
Move on to Aston Villa then. Let's get the question in for Aston Villa. And it's going to be, are Aston Villa better or worse following the sale of Jack Grealish? Theo, I'm coming to you first.
Yeah, well, I think their business was excellent. You bring in Buendia, Danny Ings, the likes of Leon Bailey, Tuanzebe, Ashley Young. They reinvested well. Is it a Jack Grealish replacement? I think it's good enough. They've balanced out the team. They've definitely, already proven the likes of Buendia has been an excellent piece of business. Danny Ings debut at Villa Stadium, and he's scoring overhead kicks. It's a positive place to be. It's very difficult to replicate a Jack Grealish. You're not going to get many of them, but I think they've balanced out the squad well, and overall, it's been good business, a good transfer window.
Nicole, you've got 23 seconds.
I'd agree. I'd agree with Thogden. I think they've been clever. They've done some smart business. The problem with someone like Jack Grealish is, I guess what people would argue is that when one player is so key for a club, they can just rely too heavily on that player. We know how good he is. He's definitely a loss, but I think they'll do quite well, and they have made some pretty good signings. So yeah.
Ooh, okay, perfect on the money, Nicole. Absolutely bang on. Yeah, Jack Grealish, obviously top player, be tough to replace. But I think I agree, Villa done some good business. Let's move on to Brentford. A lot of people are very excited about Brentford this season. But the question we're asking is, should Brentford have signed established Premier League players? Now, it's worth pointing out they have won 1 and drawn 2, so they're doing all right in the league. Theo, let's come to you first. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think they've made some decent signings. We speak about Christopher Ayer. I watched him at Celtic. I thought it was excellent. They haven't done much business. They've only signed 2 key players, which is interesting because a team comes up from the Championship and usually you see a whole new squad. The likes of Norwich have done it, and it hasn't, they've done it in the past, and other promoted teams, and it's not always come off. Like Fulham did it once, as we know. But they've kept the core of their squad. And I like that because you see how all these players, they sent them up from the Championship to the Premier League, so they deserve to stay in around the first 11. I think Brentford can survive easily, and only 2 key signings, but I thought that was good business.
Yeah, Nicole, quickly, do you think Brentford have got enough to stay up?
Ivan Toney's great. We know that he's a proven goal scorer. I think they'll be okay. And I kind of respect that they haven't just spent loads and loads of money and then could risk getting relegated. Other teams have made that mistake. So, yeah, I think they'll be all right.
Okay.
Yeah, totally agree with you guys on that one. They're always very, very smart with their recruitment. So I'm sure Brentford are going to do really well this season. Talking about smart recruitment, let's talk about Brighton then. And smart keeping of players, because the question we want answering really is, was Brighton's best bit of business keeping Yves Bissouma? Now, Nicole, he was linked at times with Arsenal. So do you think this is right?
He was linked with a lot of clubs, I feel like. I think it is very good from them. He works very hard. He's strong. He's great on the ball. I think he's a key player for them. I think it's very, very good that they've managed to keep hold of him. Is it their best piece of business? Probably. I think selling Ben White as well for 50 million was great from them. I think they'll have quite an interesting season. But yeah, he's a brilliant player. We all know that.
Yeah, totally agree. I also think, Theo, that maybe keeping hold of Graham Potter should be up there with the best bit of business.
Yeah, we see every season under Graham Potter, Brighton are just developing their tactics and they're playing better football every year. I think it's key. You hold on to him for a few more years. And this goes for the same with Bissouma, because he's an incredible ball-winning midfielder. We've seen the likes of Manchester United and other big clubs in the Premier League showing serious interest. And when it's like that, you've got a talent. And if they want to continue to develop as a football club, I think it's key they hold on to Bissouma and the manager, Graham Potter.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm a big fan of Graham Potter. I think Brighton done a good bit of business there, keeping hold of both of them. Right, let's move from Burnley to Brighton. No, not from Burnley to Brighton, from Brighton to Burnley, I should say. The question we're asking is, have Burnley done enough to stay in the Premier League? Maxwell Cornet, great signing from Lyon, of course, but a lot of people on social media pointing out they haven't done much else in the transfer window. When you look at this squad, Nicole, do you think they've got enough to stay in the Premier League? Sean Dyche has worked wonders with this Burnley squad, hasn't he, for many years?
Yeah, and I love Sean Dyche. I think he comes across so well, seems like a really great guy. They've made some decent signings, I think 5 in total, haven't spent that much compared to other Premier League sides. I guess they've got the injection of youth with the new signings. I think they're going to struggle. Obviously, had a disappointing season last season. They've made some changes. I don't know if it will be enough. I think they'll definitely struggle. I don't know if they'll go down, though. They might have enough to stay up, but yeah, I don't think it's been necessarily an incredible transfer window from them.
Theo, do you think they've got enough to stay up this year?
Absolutely. It's the Sean Dyche effect. It doesn't matter who they've got. And by the way, I think they've had some good business, especially on deadline day, making a couple of key signings. But it's Sean Dyche. He always finds a way. It doesn't matter what team you give him, lowest wage budget in the league. He will create goals and be able to defend. And I love that.
Yeah, he's done a great job, Sean Dyche, at Burnley. Perfect timing, Joe.
What an absolute hero. Go on, Dyche. Right, let's move on then to a club that did spend a little bit more than Burnley, actually. And this is Chelsea, of course. Big summer spenders, particularly in one area with Romelu Lukaku. So the question we are asking, is, does signing Romelu Lukaku make Chelsea title favourites? Theo, I'm coming to you on this one.
Not title favourites. I think you could still look at the likes of Manchester City right up there. But for me, I would say Lukaku's definitely going to score 20 plus goals this season. I think it's guaranteed. We know how excellent he can be as a player. I just think overall, you look at the likes of City, that they're in the shout for, Liverpool this season. It could be a bit of a close title race, but I'm going Man City.
Okay, Theo's going Man City. Nicole, what are your thoughts, Romelu Lukaku?
He is, he's incredible, isn't he? What a talent. Great to have him back in the Premier League. But I don't know. Chelsea, I think they're definitely going to be up there. I don't know if I think they will win the Premier League this season, but what a squad they've got. And you look at their squad depth now, they are definitely a force to be reckoned with. I think it's going to be very, very competitive this season. And you know what? Arsenal aren't going to be up there, are they? So it'll be quite nice to watch.
Okay, quite nice to watch. Like that answer. Next up, Crystal Palace. Now, I want to talk a bit about Crystal Palace. I think they've done brilliantly. They've lost, don't forget, the likes of Townsend, Cahill, Dan, Hennessy, McCarthy, Sacco. Huge clear out. They've brought in Odsonne Edouard, Michael Elise, Mark Gurhey, we know features the England under-21s, Joachim Anderson, who's linked with Spurs, Conor Gallagher, who's already scored 2 this season already, and Will Hughes from Watford. And also, if you look at the money that they've spent comparative to the players they've brought in, I think they've had an excellent window, Crystal Palace. So the question we're asking is just that. Have Crystal Palace had one of the best windows? Also, kept Wilfried Zaha, of course. Nicole, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, you know what? You're quite right. They have had a very good window. It's hard though, isn't it? Because you're comparing that and then you look at like Man United and the signings they've made. But you can't really compare because obviously Palace... no, you can't compare. So they have made some very, very good signings. Also, Patrick Vieira. Oh, what a man, what a guy. They've strengthened in a lot of positions as well. Like you said, they've got rid of some of their high earners, which I think is also very clever. Yeah, I think they've had a strong window, to be fair.
Yeah, Theo, do you agree? A lot of smart business, it seems. Conor Gallagher on loan. Odsonne Edouard was only 14 million. They seem to have spent wisely, Crystal Palace.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Conor Gallagher, we've already seen it. He's been performing against West Ham, scoring 2 goals. There's been a lot of signings. I think the key question is here, Patrick Vieira, can he make it work? When you bring in so many players and you don't have that much of a pre-season because they've come in at that point, it might not work. But I think it will. Second best transfer window in the Prem for me, Palace.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Yeah, I agree with you, Theo. I reckon it was one of the top 3 windows in the Prem. Given what they can afford to outlay and who they can afford to attract, I think they could not have had a better window. Let's move on then to the next club, Everton, who weren't able to spend as much this summer, obviously due to restraint, and they've brought in some pretty smart moves. So the question we're going to be asking you guys is, how will Everton cope this season as the lowest spending club of the window, Nicole?
Oh, lowest spending club. I think they've got a good enough squad to be fine. Look, they're not going to be competing for the title. No, I don't think Everton fans are going to hate me for saying that. I think that's being realistic. I think they'll have a good enough season. There was obviously so much chat around Rafa Benitez. That was very controversial. But he started well, hasn't he? I don't think they've lost a game yet. Obviously, it's very early on in the season. But they've had a good start. They're a good squad. I don't think they'll necessarily be a massive surprise package, but I think they'll have a decent season.
Yeah, Theo, I have to speak about Rafa Benitez as well, because it feels like although he's a Liverpool legend, his sort of profile fits Everton really nicely.
Yeah, everyone doubted him at the beginning, but he seems to be pulling it off. But I do worry for Everton. No backup left back, no right back, right winger. I think he'll come back to haunt them. They need to do business in January or it's going to look pretty... I think you won't see it at the start of the season, but it will start to creep and eventually you'll realise. But good start from the manager.
Okay, let's move straight on because loads more clubs to get to. Oh, okay. Everton chat causing a bit of debate here. I like it. We've got to move straight on to Leeds because there's loads more clubs to get to. Question we're asking about Leeds is, will Dan James be a success under Bielsa? £25 million signing from Man United. I think this epitomises a Bielsa signing. I think he'll do really well at Leeds. Nicole, 60 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, I think he'll suit the Leeds attacking style. It could be his chance to potentially be kind of a big main man there. It just wasn't going to happen at United, was it? It's tough to call, though, because everyone thought that he was going to be... Do you remember when everyone was talking about him? There was such a buzz around him at one point. You never know how it will go when they leave to go somewhere else. But I think it's kind of a win-win for both parties. I hope he does well, and I think he will, but you never know. I don't think there'll be that much pressure on him there either. So I think it could work out a very good move for him.
I think that's a good point. I'd agree with that. A win-win for both parties. Good fee. Leeds get a good player that I think suits the Bielsa system. Would you agree with that, Theo?
Yeah, I think Nicole's got it spot on, really. It's the lack of pressure. You join Manchester United, and if you're not an absolutely top player who can handle everything on social media, it's going to affect you. And I think that's key here with Daniel James. It does hit him. If he does have a bad game, he will feel it. I think with Leeds, when the pressure's off, he'll be a top player.
Yeah, I agree totally. Let's move on to Leicester then. Yet more smart business from the Leicester recruitment board this window. Of course, we saw Daka come in. We saw Tamare come in. So will Leicester's new signings take them into the Champions League places? Theo, they've spent more time in the Champions League places than any other side over the last 2 seasons and haven't made the Champions League.
Crazy. 2 times now, they've got to that 4th position and then just fallen away at the end of the Premier League seasons. And you just think, will it ever happen? Because Vardy's getting older, and to be fair, he looks like he's still got it in him. But you got to look at the newer talents. Ian Acho's been smashing it lately. Harvey Barnes hasn't started the season how he's wanted to. I think overall as a squad, it's not been the best so far this season, but I think they're going to end around 5th place again. I'm sorry, Fox's fans.
Oh no, Leicester fans absolutely distraught at that one, Nicole.
Yeah, I agree. They've made some good signings, but I don't think anyone big enough that's going to make such a huge impact. And also, like we've said earlier on, this is going to be so competitive at the top of the Premier League this season. I think they're probably just going to drop off a bit again towards the end of the season. I don't think it's going to happen for them. I think it's going to be too tough.
Ooh. Okay, let's move straight on from Leicester to Liverpool. Now, we know that Liverpool are stacked with a lot of very good players, but the question we're asking is as follows. Can Liverpool compete for the title, having only signed Ibrahima Konate? So, Nicole, what are your thoughts? A lot of Liverpool fans very happy with their starting 11, obviously is great, but a few Liverpool fans on social comparing what other teams have done compared to them. They didn't do loads of business, did they?
Yeah, I mean, people say Van Dijk is back. It's almost like a new player. They're a bit short in attack is where I think they might have a problem. But we know how good they are. We know the players they've got, the talent they've got in that side. Jurgen Klopp is brilliant as well. They're definitely going to be competing for the title. There's no doubt about that. But with Chelsea looking so good, Man United having such a good squad now, I don't know. It's not just going to be between Manchester City and Liverpool now, is it? We know that. They might struggle towards the middle and latter part of the season, potentially. And if they pick up any injuries, then they could have some big issues.
Title contenders this season for you, Thogden?
Yeah, well, I put them in the mix. I wouldn't say they're top of the table. I think they didn't replace Wijnaldum. I think January business is needed if they want to go for the Premier League because they need a little bit more squad depth in the midfield for me.
Yeah, totally agree with you there, Phil. Although the whole squad at Liverpool, I think, with the new contract situations, is slightly being underrated so far. Just because they didn't bring in loads of new faces, they've still got some outrageous talent there. And of course, Jurgen Klopp. As well, move on to Manchester City, then another side that didn't do loads of business. Put in Jack Grealish, of course, for £100 million, but missed out on Harry Kane. So will Man City pay the price for not signing a number 9, Theo?
Yeah, I think they will. Harry Kane would have been the reason, I believe, that they'd win the Champions League. Missing out on Cristiano Ronaldo, again, 2 pieces of business, which is just poor, absolutely poor. You thought the likes of City would be able to get that over the line, and they haven't. So I think this season it's all about, playing with that false 9 formation or even getting Gabriel Jesus into it. They will feel the price. I think they're much less likely to win the Champions League. Do I think they will win the Premier League again? Yes, I think that's still guaranteed. They've been smashing it so far, and Grealish has been fitting the tactics. So good play so far.
All right, so I think it's nailed on there, Nicole, that Man City are going to win the league. Do you agree?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure. I would not want to say who I think will win because I think it's just so open at the top. I think them not signing Harry Kane or Ronaldo is very interesting. I think they'll be fine. Jack Grealish has already got on the score sheet. They've scored, I think, 10 goals in the past 2 games. They'll be okay, but they probably should have made another signing in the transfer window.
Okay, let's move on to the other side of Manchester. Man United, we know what a window. Sancho, Varane and Ronaldo. Now, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer spent around £428 million on new players for Man United since being there. So the question we're asking is, does Ole Gunnar Solskjaer have to win a major trophy following this window, Nicole?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even need a minute for this. Yeah, he does. I think... Well, the thing is, we all like Ollie. Like, he comes across very well. He's a likable character. But, with the squad they've got now, the amount they've spent, they need to win trophies. Surely it's come to that point. And I think they're going to have a good chance this season. If he doesn't do it, I don't know how much longer he'll maybe be able to keep his job, because when you've got a squad that good, it comes to a point where there aren't really any excuses, are there?
Okay, yeah, I'll echo what Nicole said. Joe and I have met Ollie. Lovely guy. But is there more pressure on him, Theo, now, given the amount of money that he has spent and the players that he's brought in?
Yeah, absolutely. You look at the wage bill now and you've just got to think they've got to perform. they have to win something, surely. I would say they're up there for the Champions League. You've got a player like Ronaldo, big game player. I would back them in the Champions League to go all the way.
Oh, Joe loves the sound of that. Look, where's Joe when you need to see his face? I love the sound of it. I'm
not sure I agree we're ready for the Champions League,
really?
But I love the sound of it. Absolutely. Let's move on to another United then, Newcastle, who haven't spent as much as other sides, putting a lot of their eggs in one basket with Joe Willock. So can Willock keep Newcastle up, Theo?
Yeah, I think it's difficult. They've only signed the guy, Santiago Munez, and obviously the little film reference. But is it good enough with the business? Because it's only 2 signings, him and Joe Willock, and they had Joe Willock last year. So it only feels like one player. And I think Steve Bruce will find a way of surviving. I predicted Newcastle to stay up, but it's going to be difficult. You know, when you don't have that added bit of talent in the squad, you can't just rely on the likes of Callum Wilson, say Maximan, creating and scoring the goals every year. They've got to look at other options, and they haven't so far.
Yep. I totally agree with you there. Nicole, what are your thoughts on a lot of money going on one player rather than spreading your bets?
Well, I mean, what a lot of pressure on one young man's shoulders as well. Can Joe Willock keep Newcastle up? I think he's great. You know, he did brilliantly when he was there. But that's a lot of pressure on him. I think they're going to struggle. They've not had a good start at all. It's going to be a tough season for them. No matter how good he can be, if they keep conceding, then, you know, they're going to struggle. But I think he'll do well there.
Okay, let's move on to Norwich. You brought in Billy Gilmour on loan. They've made some good loans recently in Norwich. Obviously, Ollie Skip last season went to Norwich on loan, played every game. Now he's back in the Spurs team, starting for Spurs. Billy Gilmour, similar kind of loan deal here. Is this going to be a good fit for both parties? Billy Gilmour on loan at Norwich, Nicole?
Yeah, I think he'll do well. He's young. What is he? 20 years old. He did very well for Scotland in the Euros against England. Which probably shouldn't have brought that up. Tough times. But the problem's going to be that they're going to be battling for survival. So that's going to be really tough. I think it'll be good for his development. It'll be, you know, he's a very young player with a lot of talent. I think it is a good move. But it could be a really tough season for him. But it could just help him grow. Yeah, I think it's a really good move for him.
Theo, do you agree with Nicole? Good move, this one?
Yeah, it's exactly what Billy Gilmour needs for his career. Premier League experience, not with Chelsea, because that is a lot of pressure. Although every time he did play for them, he kind of performed. And we saw that game in the Cup against Liverpool. I think it was around a couple of years ago. But even then, you could still see he looked older than he really was. And I think Billy Gilmour, he will go to the top, in my opinion. So, yeah, he'll be a success.
Good timing on that one, Theo. Let's move straight on to the next side then. Southampton, they obviously lost one of their key players. So will Southampton struggle without Danny Ings this season, Theo?
Yeah, I think they will. I think Adam Armstrong's a really good signing to replace him. In the Championship, we saw how many goals, you know, and even assists he created for them. You know, in the Championship, it's a difficult league, and we've often seen players in there develop, like Eze, and come to the Premier League and impressed. But will it work instantly? I don't think so. Danny Ings is already smashing it at Villa as well. So, yeah, they're looking into the youth. They might have knocked a few years off that, but overall, I think Southampton should have stuck with Danny Ings. However, I think the Saints will survive. Just about. It's going to be a longer and treacherous season, but I think they'll stay on.
Yeah, there's a difficult situation for them, of course, with Danny Ings running his contract down as well, kind of wanted to leave the club. Nicole, do you think they've covered for that exit well enough? Obviously, they brought in Adam Armstrong, they brought in a couple of others as well. Livramento at right back looks a really exciting talent.
I agree with Thogden. I think Adam Armstrong could be a good one. I don't know though. Danny Ings was time gone. Danny Ings was like the main man for them. Adam Armstrong, I think he'll be good. He scored in his debut as well. I think. I'm sure he was a Championship Player of the Year last season. He's a good talent. Is he Danny Ings? No, but I think they'll be okay. I think they'll be all right.
Okay, we've got to move straight on to Spurs. A lot of Spurs fans happy with some of the business done. Of course, Paratici's window brought in a lot of exciting young players, for the future. But also, some Spurs fans keen to point out no backup striker again. So the question we are asking is, should Spurs have signed a backup striker for Harry Kane? Don't forget as well, Vinicius and Bale no longer at the club. Nicole, what do you think about this one?
Oh, you know what? The fact they've kept Harry Kane is incredible business for the club. I'm sure you'll agree, Smithy. Probably
agree.
should have signed someone else. Probably should have signed someone else. But to be fair, you've got Son, incredible player, gets on the score sheet. Dele Alli's looking good. I was going to say looking good now. That was a bit disrespectful. But, he's got his confidence back. Probably should have signed a backup for Kane, but right now I think they're doing all right. 3-1 nils, woo. I think they probably should have made a backup signing, but for now they're in a good place.
Theo, do you think Spurs in a good place? Obviously, keeping Kane's big. A lot of exciting young players, as we said. They've cleared the wage bill as well. Got a lot of older, experienced players off the books. What are your thoughts on what Spurs have done this window?
Yeah, great bit of transfer business. I have to say, Romero at centre back, I think, is exactly what they needed. A quality centre back who's proven it in a major league. You've brought in a bit of youth as well on the wing. He seems like a talented player. So overall, I think it's a very good season for Spurs upcoming, better than the last few years.
Yeah, Brian.
Nice. All right, let's move on quickly to Watford. Then let's fly through these last few teams. So will Watford's business keep them in the Premier League, Theo? A few underrated moves in here, I think.
Yeah, definitely some underrated moves. We saw Emmanuel Dennis at the beginning of the season on the first game week already contributing with a goal and assist. If he can keep that up, I'm not too sure, but I see a serious talent in Ismail Assar. I know that's not business. It's a player they've already had, but it's someone who was incredible in the Championship last year. Watford's player of the season. And if he can link up with Dennis, I think they might have something here to survive. I think Ben Foster will be very happy. I'm speaking very positively about them, but I think overall Watford will end up getting relegated. So yeah, I'm not going to speak too positively about them.
Not too positively, but I think they've done some smart business as well. Kuka, you've got a Tabo coming through the door, and Moussa Sissoko as well. Very close to deadline day, Nicole, which I think is actually an underrated move, although he wasn't a superstar at Tottenham.
Yeah, not exactly a Spurs fan's number one player, but I do think that's probably a good move. I don't think they're necessarily going to have enough to stay up. I don't think they've done anything sort of drastic enough. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but they'd have to rely on a lot of teams around them being really, really, really poor for them to stay in the Premier League, I think.
Okay, last few. Got to go straight to West Ham. Straight in with it. Should they have signed Jesse Lingard, Nicole Holliday, 60 seconds on the clock?
Yes. I feel for Lingard. I feel like it's a frustrating situation. And obviously I'm not a West Ham fan, but he's just going to be sat around at Man United, again, as a squad player, not being used. Like, he made such a difference at West Ham. I feel like the fans really took to him and he fed off that support and he looked so confident and he was wanted there. And I think he just looked like a completely different player, didn't he? He was just oozing with confidence. And I just think it's such a shame that he can't be there now. I hope that move happens at some point.
Theo, if you were Jesse Lingard, what would you do? Stay at Man United or go to West Ham for game time?
Well, I'd definitely be asking for a loan because you're not going to get much game time at United, especially after the business they've done. Let's be real. Mm-hmm. It's a shame. I completely agree with Nicole. I think that would have been a great move for West Ham. They seem to be using Ben Rama a lot more in that kind of role, linking up with Antonio a little bit more this season. But still, you can't replace Lingard. What a legend.
Yeah, maybe they're thinking he's only got 1 year left on his contract. Maybe that's the reason. Let's move on to Wolves now then. And didn't do loads of incoming business, but did keep hold of some stars as well. How important was keeping Adama Traore at the club, Theo?
Yeah, it's important. Spurs were clearly interested, and you've got Jimenez back, you've got Pedro Neto, but I think Wolves definitely need to keep on to their strongest talents to make sure that they can survive this team. I mean, I know they had a really good year the last few years, and Jimenez, obviously after everything happened, I'm not sure he'll be the same player. But Adama Traore is key to Wolves. And although his contributions aren't incredible, there's so much he'll do for the team. And by the way, he can develop. And if he gains a little bit more technical ability, I think he could be a serious winger. So it's good they've held on to him. If he has a great year, they could probably sell him for twice or even 3 times the value.
Yeah, Nicole, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I agree. I think he's huge for them. He's an absolute beast. He's terrifying, isn't he? He's just so strong. He's quick. I just think he's great. I think he was linked to Spurs as well. I think it's really good that he stayed at Wolves. I think Wolves fans will be very happy with that. So yeah, smart one there from Wolves.